Well. After basically one of the worst nights that I had in quite some time, we're gonna go through some Reddit things. It is 8 a.m. in the morning. Afterwards, I'm gonna work out. Looking forward to that, and yeah. It is what it is. Today is actually my day off. Don't have to work today and tomorrow as well. Even though it is like Tuesday and Wednesday, today being Tuesday. And it is quite interesting. That's to be said, working on the weekends, kind of having a different schedule than anyone else. It's really interesting, but I don't think that it is bad, as crazy and as, weird as it may sound, but I'm quite fine with it. I really am. Due to things, I'm not gonna get into that too far, but it's fine. Work is shitty, I hate it, but the rest is fine. My attraction to women is a vice that is preventing me from achieving my goals. How can I approach this problem with a stoic mindset? I am 23, female. Tired of having women occupy my mind so frequently. Every time there is a lull in my day, my brain is daydreaming about interactions I've had or would like to have with women. I've been single for 6 months since my 3-year relationship ended. This is the longest I've been single since I was 17. As a graduate student focused on getting things done most of the time, I understand that I'm probably experiencing burnout and loneliness. I'm human, after all. However, I receive a substantial amount of attention from both men and women, which reinforces my obsessive daydreaming. While their comments are flattering, it's distracting because it will not lead anywhere. Many of these women are hours away from me or are otherwise inaccessible. For example, emotionally unavailable, straight, etc. I abstain from social media as the FOMO and comparison culture is insidious. However, I feel drawn to it when I am interested in someone. I go from not having an online presence for weeks to obsessively checking if that person has interacted with my posts. If they don't interact, it makes me feel like garbage. Then I keep checking the apps anyway. Instead, I want to focus on applying for PhD programs in the fall. That's very much within my control, but I feel like I'm blowing my chance. Fantasizing without intervention is becoming obtrusive to the things that actually are real in my life and that I actually care about. I posted in a different subreddit regarding this problem, but I don't think I framed the issue properly. The comments were trying to convince me to give myself a break, which is a very kind response, but that is part of the problem. By giving myself a break for so long, I've created a problem. I'm tired of investing resources into relationships that are bad fit for me because I'm lonely. I'm also tired of using all of my cognitive resources on daydreaming about things that won't happen. Making myself feel bad by creeping on social media profiles and procrastinating on the things that actually matter to chase after women. I want to focus on what is actually within my control that will give me relief. Please be kind, this is my first time posting here, and I would really appreciate any support or guidance this community has. Stoicism has helped me stay focused in graduate school, and so I am hoping that it can help me persist through this problem as well. You seem to be describing a fairly straightforward issue. For whatever reason, you value the attention of potential romantic partners. Everything else you have described seems like a natural and sensible response to this. If this attention was really as valuable as it seemed, you would reasonably give it the effort that you give it. Of course, part of you says that it's not really that important, and that part of you is, in the Stoic view, anyway correct. These people who hold your attention are in the nice to have, but not necessary category. Definitely. They are, in Stoic terms, preferred indifference. People overvalue romance for a lot of reasons. Validation is a big one, as is the expectation that a partner will make us more complete, solve the lingering problems that trouble us, provide status, provide security, provide identity. These imagined needs are big trouble. They cause the trouble. They cause the trouble you experience now when you're single, and they cause even worse problems in relationships later. Clinginess and neediness are the natural consequences of thinking we need something from another person, and they are poison. Find the thing you think you need, set it right, and the problem is solved. Simple in theory, tough in practice, as so many things. But yeah, I do heavily want to underline and point out that it doesn't make any sense to be willing to get into a relationship just for the sake of being happier, more complete, and more well off emotionally and mentally. This shouldn't be about it, Being in a relationship shouldn't be about that. Of course, it is going to make you feel good if it is the right person. But I think it is a difference to getting into a relationship just because you want to feel better, and maybe even forcing it, which in the end is, not going to lead to a lot of good things. Also because I believe that when you are alone and you're happy alone, then you're probably also going to be happy with another person. But when you're trying to be happy with another person without being happy alone, you should work on that, because being in need of somebody else and having to have them, which is not in your control, is not a great position to be in. Because if they decide that for whatever the fuck reason they want to break up, don't want to be with you anymore, then you're not going to be in a good space. You're going to be fucked quite. Which is not amazing. Really not. And this is one of the reasons why, I always say, and have quite often said before as well, that being in a relationship shouldn't be about you feeling better about yourself. Just piggybacking here with a sort of Taoist perspective. It is okay to feel desires and emotions. All of us do. The human brain is a thinking, feeling, wanting machine. The thing to realize is that it's just because one feels something doesn't mean that one has to act on the thing. You can feel and acknowledge that desire without acting on it, without the pursuit. Pretty nice point, and I would say as well. The Stoic view is not so different. The thoughts and desires that pop into your heads are external to us. They are impressions, same as the impressions we receive of the outside world. Stoics train themselves to never assent directly to unconsidered impressions. We give our assent only to our evaluation of them. Often we simply assent to acknowledge them without acting upon them. In modern ZBT terms, there is a space between events and our response to them. Events do not cause our response or our feelings. Our judgment of the events does, which is an incredibly important point. And just for the sake of this fucking sentence, recording this episode has been worth it. Because even though something is happening, doesn't mean that you have to react, I do want to point out, have to react in a certain way. Just because somebody died doesn't mean that you have to cry, It's basically your decision, and it is something that I've been talking about for quite some time, and it is still quite, I think, difficult to grasp at first and difficult to understand at first, because it seems so strange. Like, of course, I'm gonna be feeling not amazing if some of my relative dies, or if another person that I deeply like dies, and so on and so forth, as this being kind of a pretty extreme way of understanding this concept and explaining this concept. But, big but, it is indeed the case. Things happen, then we judge and evaluate the position we are in. We evaluate what happened, and then we react to it. And if we see something bad in something, then we're gonna react in a certain way. But when we see something good in something, then we're also gonna react in a certain way, But the question then is, how can you possibly judge situations in the right way The right way being the way that is serving you the best. Obviously, grieving about everything and being unhappy about everything is not potentially going to be the best thing, even though I do think that feeling negative feelings and feeling sad and bad and unhappy from time to time is also necessary. I think life is about contrast, you need to have both to feel both, You can't, I think, be happy without knowing what grieving is and unhappiness is. I've heard it said that we have no control over the first thought that enters our head, but we do have control over the second thought. Isn't it neat how these millennia-old philosophies still have so much valuable insight? The world has changed a lot over the past 2,000 years. Human beings, not so much. Yes, indeed. Well, yeah, I do think as well that the first thought might just be instinctive, or actually the first judgment, let's put it like that maybe. But the second one, the evaluation of the first judgment is totally in your fucking control. Like, something might happen and you kind of, explode. But then kind of the exercises or the thing is catching yourself as quickly as possible to get to the second phase of evaluating, basically evaluating your first evaluation or kind of as well your first reaction. And then being like, well, I don't actually have to cry. I don't have to do this, I don't have to do that. And I don't know, I've in my life also been in a position of just, seemingly not reacting in the way I should react in. Where people feel grief and bad and then are crying and whatnot, I just don't feel anything, And I do have a feeling that even though in quite fucked up situations regarding things that really are not amazing and good, that I'm also going to react in that way. I don't know why, but I just have a feeling. Well, the next one. Don't be embarrassed of your situation. Half of these people are covering up the same situations with filters and smiles. Make a plan, cut off distractions, stay focused and execute consistently. You'll make it, I promise. I used to read in order to be smarter. Now I just want to read because I want to enjoy it. My relationship with reading has been rough. When I was a teen, I used to buy lots of books that I thought were must-reads, and the only reason I really did it was to check some mental box and to appear smarter or more educated. And because I felt that if I read a lot of books, then I'd be better in some way. What actually ended up happening was that most of them just ended up in my bookshelf without ever being read. I've enjoyed reading in the past a lot. I loved Animal Farm. I loved I, Robot. I loved The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I loved It. I loved The Perfume, but never developed the habit. The last book I read was 1984, about 3 months ago. And then I started Dune. I actually don't know. I didn't finish it. Well, basically, either it's Dune or Dune, the exact same fucking word. Anyway, I started The Shack recently because my girlfriend really liked it, but I didn't finish it. Well, I don't know. I think once again it's about habits. And if you think about it that way, we all have certain chain reactions of habits, We brush our teeth, maybe drink a glass of water and then go to bed. This maybe might be your routine. And then adding something makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna brush my teeth, drink a glass of water, and then I read 20 pages of my new book. And then I'm gonna go to bed. You're basically never gonna forget about it because you have this sequence. First this, then that, then reading. So it makes it a bit easier to stick to that habit. Once you start it, and obviously the first few weeks and then maybe even months, it's going to be pretty hard and you maybe consciously have to think about it. But at some point, it is just going to be you. It's just what you do. It's just who you are. As it is with so many things that I'm actually doing, like recording and this and that and these and those. It's just a habit. It's just something that I do. Saying that something is who I am or who you are is pretty dangerous, because if you're not able to do it, then you kind of fuck with your identity, which is not amazing, which is also one of the reasons why saying I'm a smoker is fucked up, because you say it is who you are. So when you don't smoke, it is not who you are anymore. Therefore, saying I'm a person who smokes is a bit better, because it is just what you do. I'm a person that smokes, or that does smoking, if you just kind of put it in that weird way. But yeah, it's about habits. And I would also say picking the right books makes sense, something that really catches your attention. And on the other hand, if you're just not a reader, and if you're not into reading as I am, I don't know, maybe there's another ways in which you can do so. Like I, for example, go through book summaries. I go through articles. And without the podcast, I would never ever do that. Because it just takes too much time, and I would rather do some dumb shit like, I don't know, playing video games. Some stuff like that, which by the way, I've picked up lately again. And it really helped me feel better, because especially when it is about games that need time, and every day you can check in and see what happened, if you gained something, if you now can do something, if you can, whatever. But I like it. I think it is great. Anyway, I'm going to see you the next time. And until then, bye-bye.